Thank you, friends. Shabbat Shalom. Greetings to you all. I hope you all have or had an awesome Thanksgiving, depending on when you listen or watch and when you celebrate. We have so much to be thankful for. Adopt an attitude of gratitude and share it every day with your friends and family, your coworkers, spiritual guides, and of course yourself. How many of you express any gratitude to yourself? It's bad enough we wait until people die to say nice things. Hey, say nice things now. I'm grateful for those of you watching or listening because I know your time is sacred. Thank you. And since so many of you will be traveling to see loved ones during the holidays, travel safe and share your love. Kenny Loggins sang about going home for the holidays. Please celebrate me home. Give me a number. Please celebrate me home. Play me one more song that I'll always remember. I think a lot of people remember that incredible first solo album of his. And this is the start of a holiday season. Thanksgiving this week. At the end of next week, we have the start of Hanukkah, which goes for 8 days. And then 10 days later, Christmas. And then New Year's. Ho, ho, ho. 'Tis the season to be jolly and festive. It certainly seems odd, though, to have Hanukkah and Christmas as separated as they are. Now, this is, of course, a leap year. And so we have an extra month tacked on to the last month of the year. So we have an Adar 1 and an Adar 2. Now, that alone tells you when we really see the start of the year. But we do that to get the calendar back on track. So next year, we have Hanukkah beginning on December 25th. How apropos. Now, we're entering the season of caring. It goes with holidays. So let's all send prayers and well wishes to Suzanne, who is truly in need of healing, and all the good we can send her way. Misha Berach Avotenu. May the source of strength who bless the ones before us bless those in need of healing. The renewal of body, the renewal of spirit. We pray for and with you, Suzanne, and anyone else you know who needs goodwill and healing now. And it was so nice to hear from Hillary, coming home next week, and it is never too late to come home. Now, I'm sure many of you remember way back in 1976, in that great film, The Network, when Peter Finch told everyone to run to the window and shout, "I'm mad as hell and I'm not going to take this anymore." And boy, the things he talked about in that speech are sure happening today. Well, we may certainly feel like doing that also. I'm not asking you to go and do it or to shout out the window. But I do want you all to pick up the phone or email or text someone you have not spoken with of late and thank them for being part of your life, for what they do, who they are, what they represent. Now, you do not have to tell them why. You just need to express it. Whether they acknowledge it or not does not matter. Give thanks, my friends. We all have relationships. Many are splintered. And we've been reading a lot now about an incredibly splintered family. And you may feel yours is similar, but you can still express thanks. Even if it is for nothing more to a parent than participating and giving birth to you. That act alone has allowed you to share love and goodwill and make the world a better place. Think of your fellow man, lend them a helping hand, put a little love in your heart. The world will be a better place. Yes, it will. Now, I received several comments and questions from last week, and it seems many were surprised by the episode of Rachel taking and hiding the teraphim, or household gods, and the Torah's first mention of menstruation, or of being in the way of women. And interestingly, the Septuagint has the word eidolon, meaning image, which may relate to ancestor worship. See, ancestor veneration, so prevalent in the Far East still to this day, and evidenced for us by Roman artifacts, was very common in Israel, at least until the reign of King Hezekiah, around the year 700 before the Common Era, when much of this book was probably put together, and when ancestor veneration and the feeding of the departed's spirits were outlawed. But don't forget, friends, we are not yet reading about true monotheists as you think of them, practicing anything resembling Judaism as you understand it. Now, great stories stand the test of time. The Iliad, the Odyssey, the Exodus, great fairy tales, fractured or not. And they all have something in common. They have an element of supernatural or heroes, what were called men of renown. But the stories of Abraham, of Isaac, and of Jacob, they're different. These are stories about us, our fears, our hurts, our familial relationships. These stories are different. These stories are about the present, not the past. We all have seen these incidents acted out either in our families or in the families of people we know. I've seen parents manipulate their children and children manipulate parents. I've seen brother hate brother, sister hate sister. Friends, when we hate, we are looking in the mirror of self, for the things we hate are often things about us that still exist. We see the karmic patterns develop in the story of Jacob, and how it comes to bear on every member of his family, from the deception of Isaac to his unwittingly putting a curse of death on Rachel, his one true love. Remember, Rachel tells her father that she's menstruating, which keeps him away when he is searching for his missing gods. But even then she's deceiving him. She cannot in fact be menstruating, because we find out in the next paragraph that she's pregnant at the time. And her deception may simply be recompense for Laban's having substituted Leah for her and making her share her husband with her sister. But we have, Jacob saying whoever has the gods will die, not knowing that he was putting the curse of death on his one true love. And the weave of deception continues, as does the effects of fear. Watch how it winds its way insidiously through the genetic makeup of our characters, and how it plays out with Jacob's sons, whose ultimate deception is when they sell Joseph. This Parsha is about facing fear. And it is highlighted by the story of a reunion. Jacob is about to see his brother Esau again. It has been 20 years in the making. This Parsha is about change, and the choices we make, and that is highlighted as we are witness to Jacob's famous wrestling match with God, an angel, a night spirit. We really don't know. But the result, his name will be changed. Now, as I said, Abraham's was, his is, Isaac's stayed the same. And the name that's given him is also so telling. Israel, meaning he who wrestles or struggles with God. And who among us has not? See, children of Israel is not a geographic, religious, or philosophical delineation. It is anyone and everyone who has struggled with God. Now, Jacob's final son Benjamin is born, and his beloved Rachel dies in childbirth, as the curse he puts on her comes to fruition. Another karmic warning to be careful about what you ask for. As we now embark on Vayeshlach, and he sent, and Jacob's now on his way home. He's extremely wealthy, and he sent some of his men as messengers to Esau with gifts. They're to say that Jacob has been with Laban all these years, but learned nothing from him. Now, Laban, of course, is presented to us as a horrible, conniving, thieving individual, so this is really a roundabout way of saying he learned no bad habits. And his men come back and tell him that Esau doesn't want his gifts, and he's coming to see him, and that he, Esau, is bringing 400 men with him. Genesis 32:8. And Jacob was very afraid. Surprise, surprise, Jacob was afraid. That is the emotion that has ruled his life. He was afraid Isaac would realize the deception and curse him. He was afraid of Esau for how he got the birthright and the blessing. He was afraid of Laban, which is why he snuck away with his goods. And now he is afraid of what will happen with Esau when nothing has transpired. He even offers to make a deal with God. We saw last time the list of conditions he put in place to take God as his God. And now he tells God he'll choose him if, save me from my brother's hand, from Esau's hand, because I fear him. Friends, fear is self-made, and it is a projection. It is the projection of either something that happened in the past or might happen in the future onto our present, and it paralyzes us. Fearing the worst, Jacob breaks his camp into two. This way, if he has to battle Esau, he may only lose half, and many will say that is a prudent move. Why risk everything? Now, the split is what I'm more interested in. It's what tells of the man, what he valued, who he valued. He splits his family so that the ones he loved, Rachel and Joseph, were at the end. The others, oh well. Friends, can we ever really put goods, items, commodities above people, above relationships, above family? Obviously we can't. Should we? No. All possessions are simple commodities that are entrusted to us for such a short time. We are simply caretakers. A very good friend of mine, an advisor of mine, demonstrated this so beautifully the other day with his son. His son's birthday was coming, and he was born in 2000, a true millennial, and he wanted to give him something special. So while traveling, he picked up an ancient coin minted around what we would call the beginning of the 1st century, so he could give his son, born in 2000, something 2,000 years old. And he wrote out the history of the coin for him, and he asked his son to think about how many hands it had gone through over these 2,000 years. Yes, my friends, we are mere caretakers of goods. Goods can be replaced. People, feelings, relationships, time. They cannot. This reunion is truly one of the greatest, most powerful scenes in the entire Torah, my friends, and is the ultimate tableau for the greatest gift man has, a gift that we try to emulate on the 10th day of the 7th month every year, the gift of forgiveness. Indubitably, one of the hardest things for people to engage in. Friends, inside of everyone is their true character. When tested, it shows itself. Sometimes we rise to it. Sometimes we show who we really are. This week we see two pure examples. We see the real character of both brothers. And our sages have always had such a hard time reconciling it. God knows there's a purpose. God knows there's a chance. God knows you can rise above the darkest hour of every circumstance. We can rise above our circumstance. We know what is inherently good and right and ethical and decent and loving. And we can be those things. We can choose to be those things. We see two brothers. One had everything taken away. Love, blessings, inheritance. The other had everything. One lived in fear. One lived in love. Both could have lived in love and under grace. And if you only knew that one had everything, one had nothing. One lived in fear, one lived in love. And you had to guess which was which. You would guess the wrong one. We have choices in life. Which brother do you want to be? We picture our lives a certain way, and every so often the pieces of the picture get cracked and broken. They fall off. And we may come to a place that is all the splinters of our broken and bent pieces of our dreams, and we can put them back together. They may not be perfect, but we can still always be the best version of ourselves. This is the lesson of the Torah and the stories and relationships that we view. This is a story about crossroads. I went down to the crossroads, fell down on my knees. I went down to the crossroads, fell down on my knees, asked the Lord above for mercy. Save me, if you please. Jacob is at a crossroads. He will face his past and his future. Genesis 32:25. And Jacob was left by himself, and a man wrestled with him until the dawn's rising. Now, much has been written about this struggle. To some it was God. After all, Jacob says he's fought with God face to face. Some say it was an angel, some say a night spirit, but what it also was himself, my friends. He fought with the choices he has made his whole life, and it brought about a change. He fought the man to a draw and would not let him go unless the being blessed him. We've got to know no character more in the Bible than Jacob. Jacob starts out as a manipulator. But Jacob has changed after his experiences in Mesopotamia. He has been the deceiver and the deceived. He has hurt and been hurt. He's now a husband and a father, a man who has struggled and prospered. For the rest of the story, he's no longer pictured as a man of action, but more often as a relatively passive man like his father Isaac, seeking to appease his brother, avoiding strife and risk. And precisely at the juncture that marks this change in Jacob's character, he has his encounter with God. God blesses him in a remarkable statement. Your name shall no longer be called Jacob, but Yisrael. Yisrael understood here to mean he struggles with God. Because you've struggled with God and with people and were able. As his character changes and he ceases to be the deceiver, he sheds the name Jacob, the one who catches, and becomes instead Israel, the one who struggles with God. What you will notice, my friends, is that while after Abraham and Sarah's name change, they were only called by their new names. But you will see Jacob and Israel both used for Jacob. And notice whether as Jacob he is falling prey to the old belief patterns, and as Israel, the more evolved self emerges. Well, the big meeting takes place after 20 years, Genesis 33:4, and Esau ran to him and embraced him and fell on his neck and kissed him, and they wept. Now, we've been told how horrid Esau was, except for this one moment of his life. But we can only read the opposite. There was nothing anywhere about the evil, vengeance-filled, hateful Esau. There's even a midrash which says everything Esau did was motivated by hatred except his reunion with Jacob. But instead we see a man who loved his brother and exercised the forgiveness mechanism to be at peace, at love, and at one with himself and with everyone and everything all around him. Now Jacob, slower to travel because of his huge retinue, urges Esau to return to his land, and he will meet him there. And Esau offers to have some of his men travel with Jacob to help and guide him, but Jacob tells him no, he doesn't want to slow anyone down. But it's really because Jacob had no intention of meeting up with his brother ever again. Genesis 33:16. And Esau went back his way to Seir that day, and Jacob traveled to Sukkot. Now notice, my friends, it is Jacob, not Israel, who headed off in the opposite direction. Look for these clues. Look at whose name is mentioned. Look at whose name is mentioned in the story, in this parsha, often referred to as the rape of Dinah. The only story about Jacob's only daughter. It too is an amazing story about a young man who loved and was willing to do anything to marry Jacob's daughter. But it's confusing. We are told he degraded her, yet he wanted to marry her and was willing to be circumcised and have all the men in the town circumcised so that they can intermarry. Well, this episode is another striking example of fear and selfishness as it culminates in two of Jacob's sons, Simeon and Levi, deceiving the young man and the townspeople into being circumcised and then killing every one of them. And we are left with Jacob lamenting that his children have caused him anguish because now maybe the inhabitants of the land will come after him and seek revenge. Jacob lived in fear. Israel tried to live in peace. The world is sacred, my friends, and so is everything in it. Express your gratitude, light a candle, make a wish, celebrate your life and the lives of those you love. Share your feelings with them, live free, be free, honor your freedom. Be well, be happy, be blessed, share and honor the light and all who live in the light and continue to shine. Send everyone you know goodwill and love. And thanks. Pray for peace and freedom for everyone and end to terror and hatred. Remember, friends, we are a community. We learn together, we celebrate each other, we love each other. We share this ride together, men and women equally. So let us send out love, not fear. Send out peace, harmony, good healing to all who need it. Everybody's running. No one makes a move. Everyone's a winner. There's nothing left to lose. Nobody told me there'd be days like these. Strange days, indeed. And please do fall in love, friends. It is the great gamble worth taking. Break free of dogma. Change your way of thinking. Follow the call of freedom. The journey is yours to enjoy. Thank you all. Love you. See you all next time. And I do love seeing you all again. And remember, your wishes do come true. Bless you all. Have a fantastic week. A week of love, of healing, and thanks and peace. And thank you all for joining me. Shabbat Shalom.